Hi, my name is Tyrese Simon, news writer for SEScoops, and welcome to another edition of the Get to Know series. These gentlemen have been one of the best podcasts in the game, including others. They have been influential to the business, I would say, and I would say they are the pillar of the wrestling community. I would say, ladies and gentlemen, Khal, Drip, Fam, the Black Wrestling Podcast. How you doing?
Salute. Thanks, Tyrese. How you doing? I'm glad we got to do this. I feel like we met. Was it last year?
It was last year. It was
at Black Wrestle Fest.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, we got to chop it up at Black. I'm glad I went outside. I got to finally meet some people that I've seen on the internet in real life. But yeah, it was cool to chop it up with you. It's cool to be a part of this. You know, I somebody the other day, and I'm not trying to toot our horns, but a tweet the other day mentioned us as being the OGs, and I didn't know people, like you said, pillar. I didn't know people looked at us like that. I'm not even trying to BS. I don't know what people think of us, but I appreciate those words. We just hit stream live on Thursdays, and what happens in that 2 hours is what happens.
Is there a better collection of Drip beards in pro wrestling podcasting right now? I mean, because good gracious. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm glad I put the balm in earlier today. I had to make sure I was looking right for this one.
Yeah, we out here. You know what I mean? I mean, mine is kind of blended into my shirt, so it looked like.
Yeah,
I got like the rock turtleneck on with a graphic or something.
It's Black History Month.
Look, it's there. Look, you can see.
I had to throw the red X on because you know where we stand.
Sure. Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
And we also Mimi is in traffic. Hope we get her on as well to get the collective here. But again, I definitely appreciate you guys. This, to give full disclosure, this is right before Monday Night Raw. We're taping this, so I definitely appreciate you guys giving me your time.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, this is normal. We kind of just whether record lights on or not. This is just what we do. Whether it's 3 of us, 5 of us, whatever. Shoot, me and Fan was talking about the new Ant-Man movie earlier. It's like, you know, we kind of just, it went from having common interest in talking online to kind of just, we're cool and this is just what we do. And sometimes people are privy to the nonsense that comes out of our mouths and into our phones. Nonsense.
Well, yeah, I definitely do call you guys the pillars of podcasting and definitely the wrestling community as well, which we're going to talk about a little bit more why. But you guys definitely deserve the credit just off the top, and I definitely am honored to be able to speak with you guys today.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh man, we appreciate that, brother.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
I will. No, I'm sorry, Trip. No bullshit, but I do. SEScoops is one of the better pro wrestling media outlets in terms of just like, not just because there's a lot of sites that kind of just regurgitate what Meltzer puts out there, what Sean Ross Sapp puts out there, but you know, SEScoops is it's clear to see, you know, Ty's got us, and it's we ain't the first podcast that's been in your series, so you know, I'm glad that you guys are showing that there's more than just controversy and rumors that can drive the pro wrestling conversation.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm gonna give this little credit again. We're going to talk about a little bit later, but I feel like what SEScoops and myself are doing, I feel like you guys have also been doing for a while for the wrestling community. And I feel like you kind of, I want to say, originated what the Get to Know series is, if I can say that, but what y'all been doing with how you've been helping others and putting others on game. So I definitely, you know, game recognizes game in a way.
Well, that's how it should be, right? Like, I mean, you know, Fam and myself, you know, we've podcasted outside. I mean, before Black Rasslin was like, you know, what it is now, you know, we dabbled in and out to varying degrees of being podcasters specifically. And it was always my peers or people that, you know, I'm cool with. You know, invite them in, you know, maybe have that conversation. I mean, shouts to Stat Guy Greg. I mean, he didn't have to hop on the horn, you know, whatever, you know, lead into the SummerSlam was, you know, 4 or 5 years ago or whatever. But it was like, once we had that conversation with him, it was Black Announce Table. We had each one of them on individually, randomly, other podcasts that we got. But it's kind of just like your peers, you kind of like how they rock. and then you start talking outside of pro wrestling, and at some point it's just inevitable. But you know, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but I know like Drip and Banks, they have their own things that they do. Fam and Lovely Laveau, like, you know, they've started, and I think a lot of these things kind of just are built off of, we're in the same community, we kind of gel a little bit than other people, more than other people do. Maybe we can turn something into something else, no pun intended.
You know, it's funny for me, it's more selfish.
I love it.
I like to listen to podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So I need something like, you know what I'm saying? All right, I got a guy, I got a set, you know what I mean? I got XYZ to listen to on Monday.
Right.
Wednesday, I get this, you know, Thursday. Oh man, I need somebody for Tuesday and Friday. Hey, what do you do? Oh, you want to start a pod? This is what you do. Come here. Let me talk to you. Now I'm listening. Now I have, you know what I'm saying? But no. You know, the really cool thing is to take things from soup to nuts, and you get to see them from the beginning. Like, oh my God, what do I do to people finding a groove and really kind of getting into like spread their wings and really like maturing and developing in the podcast space is one of the coolest things to watch. So it really is a selfish thing for me because I get to see that process, and I always find that amazing.
Word.
Well,
I mean,
sorry, Drip.
I was gonna say, I said this last week when we were talking to Steph Hardy, because she was talking about, again, BRP putting people on, and again, I had said that's how I'm here, is that I was just picked out of the chat one day and then started joining the show, and that's how my voice would start to be heard. And then I was like, let me see if I can start something on my own and see if I can build within, now that I have a foot in the door, if I can try to find my own way while still being part of this. And then at the end of the day, you just want to talk to people you find interesting and have interesting conversations, whether you like them or not. You can have great podcasts with someone you might dislike, or great podcasts with people you're known for years or you just met. And that's what's fun about it, is that you can talk to, and it's not just wrestling, it can be movies, like Khal was saying earlier with anime, you can talk about music. That's one of the best things about Something Else with Fam and Lovely. It's that they want to talk to people in wrestling about everything except the wrestling, and know the individual as well as the person that we see, or what we think we see on the timeline, or whatever promotion they're on that week.
No, definitely. And you know, I'm a little unfamiliar. I've watched you guys and I've watched what you're doing, but I'm a little late to the train, if I may say. How did the podcast actually start?
Damn. All right, let's see.
There's two stories.
There
Really? Okay.
are. There's a number. Yeah. Well, all right. Let's start from the tippy top. Back in the day, Black Rasslin was just me. I would hear, shouts out to Cypher Sounds and Peter Rosenberg when they were doing Juan Epstein. I would listen to like the OG hip hop podcast, shouts to Combat Jack and them, and be like, you know, I'm cool. I understand these conversations, and they're raw and they're real, but I also listen to like Meltzer and Alvarez doing Observer Radio and all that stuff. And I mean, if it's just figuring out a way to record yourself talking about pro wrestling for a little bit, I could do that. So I would take breaks from my old job. I would take breaks out. There was a dumpster in like some shaded area by the parking lot, and I would go there. I'd print out stuff from like Wrestling Inc. and all these other websites, and I would just talk. You know, I would talk about Raw. I would preview the pay-per-view. You know, do a lot of news and rumors and stuff that was going on. Throw little hip hop tracks in between for breaks, and then, you know, I did this for like a year, just weekly, just me recording into a BlackBerry. And at a certain point, I got a new job, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it that way, especially during a weekday at the job on breaks. So I put the podcast on hiatus. I'd started a blog and was trying to write a little bit more. And during that, this would have been sometime in 2012, and in the interim, brother Fam, Math, Diz, and Brock, they were doing Where's Buffy? They were doing the Where's Buffy podcast, where'sbuffy.com, Where's Barry Buffy podcast on YouTube. We do that. We brought that back in October. Shouts out to the squad, Rem and all them. They were getting busy on their end with the Where's Buffy podcast. And I want to say it was maybe about a year and change, maybe a couple years, because we're 6 years now. Damn, it was a little bit. It was a bit. It was 6 years ago. Six years ago, around the Royal Rumble. Fam hit me up. Me and Fam, we were just cool because I had a website. I was doing my thing. we followed each other, but on Monday nights we would just talk wrestling, and we, you know, built a relationship that way. And one day, Fam, the Podfather, was like, "Hey, Khal, myself and my cousin, you know, Math, the one who he used to rap. We love pro wrestling. We want to talk about pro wrestling, but we can't do it on the Buffy. So we wanted to ask you a question. You know, would you want to bring back Black Rasslin with us, or would you be cool with us doing it on our own?" And I was like, you know what, I can't, I don't have anybody in life to have these conversations with. So I said, let's, you know, maybe we can, you know, figure it out together and see what goes on. So the first time I ever had a conversation with the two of them in real life was the first episode of the Black Rasslin podcast, season 2, 6 Januaries ago. And we started on we were recording either Wednesdays or Thursdays, and we kind of just been having a conversation about pro wrestling once a week ever since. And, you know, it's maybe, you figure, Drip, it's been 2 years
since I've joined.
Yeah,
it'll be it's almost 2.5 now.
So about 2.5 years ago, with the pandemic and, you know, people watching pro wrestling and stuff together, we met Drip during a live watch of a WWE pay-per-view. We were just figuring out StreamYard and doing live stuff, and he popped on that week. And it wasn't that he popped on and we were interacting, although we were interacting live. It was the fact that a day or two later, he hit back and was like, all right, here's this. I took some notes after listening to the podcast, and he literally went through the whole podcast and had, like, you know, research that he did based off of stuff. And, you know, it went from him being on the pod for Diversity Day once a month to do live stat reading, to kind of just having Drip on every week. It just made sense to have him on. And, you know, we did that for about a year and change. And last WrestleMania season, Mimi was added. You know, we were talking with Mimi, and Mimi was we're trying to develop some things. I mean, you start a Patreon, you do these other, you know, we have multiple at this point. BRP is kind of the umbrella to a couple of different types of projects and vehicles that we're doing. And Mimi was brought on for, you know, and Mimi's got some stuff that she's working on too. And it's kind of been the 5 of us since last year. And you know, we branched out to an annual 50 list. It'll be turning 5 this year. The BRP 50, looking at the top 50 Black pro wrestlers currently, men and women, mainstream and independent, in the year, which is, you know, it's, some people hate it, some people love it, some people understand it, but you know, we're trying to do a lot of different things, and realistically, it's like, let's try something. Does it stick? Oh, let's figure out how to develop that over time. And you know, I mean, the fellas can talk about, you know, how that's grown and everything, but that's kind of from soup to the last, you know, 6 years has kind of been just that, getting online and talking about pro wrestling every week and turning into shit. Sorry, SEScoops stuff. YouTube, I'm sorry.
Family wanted to say something?
No. I think Khal pretty much covered everything, man. You know, it started from where it started, and we're here.
I mean, again, like, it was the because I mainly listened to Black Announce Table, and I would hear them mention Black Wrestling, but I just never checked it out for some reason. But it wasn't until the Black History series that they were doing in 2020 where y'all were on there, and that was like the funniest podcast I had heard. I'm like, all right, let me finally check this out. And then the pandemic hit, and then the Discord, and that's how we got to kind of know each other over the course of quarantine, with like nothing to do except watch wrestling and talk to each other. You can't go outside, so you just talk about wrestling, whatever else. And then the first watch along, like you said, WrestleMania Backlash, and for some reason that just carried on to the Facebook Live. And then again, Mimi last year we were doing the Women's History Month, a woman guest every week, and that first episode, it just clicked. We kind of kept going, and I was thinking it was almost 3 hours, and just like, there's kind of something here with a rapport and a rhythm and chemistry, which somehow I had with the three of y'all, given our different backgrounds and age groups and all that. But it's just, I think I was saying earlier, that when you talk to someone, you can feel the conversation go, and it can go anyway. That's what makes it so great, and that's why the show has this impact, like you're saying, by being a pillar. It's just like we can provide, as Fam always says, insight, entertainment, because we could talk wrestling with the best of them, but also we have something that no one else has, and that's comedic timing. I mean, outrageous stories, all of it. If you watch a Black Wrestling from 3 years ago, it might be the same energy as one this week, but again, the wrestling news is different, and that's what makes it so great. It's almost timeless in a way, in terms of when I listen to those old ones, it'd be like the wrestling world has changed, but like not the dynamic between the three of y'all at the time. It's still the same to this day. I think that's what people want, is like I'm saying, like something that's going to get me through this work day. That's why you can re-listen to some old ones and like, oh, I want to listen to that because it has that feeling of, I know I might have heard it before, but this same joke, or this same crazy story or take, but yeah, just the nature of it at times.
Yeah, I would definitely say one of the things that make your podcast unique is I almost feel like the wrestling is almost like the second, like it's the backseat thing, because I feel like the connection and the commentary between all five of you is what really makes the podcast special. Like you guys can riff for a good 15 minutes before you actually talk about wrestling, you know, and that's something that's unique.
Yeah, our original tagline was something, you know what I mean, wrestling from an inwards perspective.
Facts,
right.
Yeah.
But
Good
I mean,
sensor.
eventually we flipped it and it became inwards from a wrestling perspective, and really that's what it is, man. Like we all watch wrestling, so everybody we all watch Raw Monday, all of us.
Right.
We all watched it. We all saw the same sorry match. We saw the same good match, and we saw the same great promo, terrible promo, XYZ. We saw the same thing. And you've heard 50 talking heads from Monday at 11:01 to goddamn 8:34 on Thursday. At that point in time, we've heard enough.
All the takes are gone.
Cover it. But yeah, they ate the takes up. You'll hear our takes, but we're gonna pod. We're going to entertain you first.
We got to get there.
And we take this little wrestling with you too.
But also your take might be something what is niche for a certain listener. Like then that's thing, like when I listen to Black and Announcing, like they are kind of in my same age groups. Like this is people my age talking about wrestling and grew up watching Ruthless Aggression more than Agile are. So they're coming at it from my POV. And that's the same thing that, Khal, Fam, and Math have, kind of being in the same age group, watching the same stuff, and then adding me to the mix, again, my difference of wrestling opinions. And then when we add Mimi too, not just because a woman and her perspective, but what she enjoys about wrestling in the mainstream of WWE over indies, or storytelling over work rate, and that's what makes it so good. And like Fam was saying, like you can listen to 20 other pods to hear the nitty gritty breakdown, but also we can do the same thing, but just like our perspective. And we might disagree in a more entertaining way as well. Like Fam and I might have a disagreement on whatever was the best match that AEW had last week too, but also like there will be some references and jokes thrown in as well that you might not get at other pods. Not trying to say like they're all bland and basic, but there's a reason people tune into us.
I think one episode I've heard, this is with Lovely, which we'll talk about in a second, with something else. I think there was one episode where like I spent a good 5 minutes talking about penis juice.
I do not recall this.
Yeah, I don't.
You would
remember.
know.
I
can't
have to
point
go
to the screen because you won't.
No, you know what it is? That sounds about right. That sounds like something that would happen, especially with Lovely on. But it's one of I don't want to say I don't listen back. There are some episodes where I have gone back and listened, especially because these are some of the only times where you can tell some of these stories and have some of these conversations. But I have to be looking for something. All right, I used to go in and I've not done it. I don't think I've done it this year. I used to go in and kind of what's the shit? We timestamp. I would timestamp the episodes and going through and listening to 2.5 hours of us talking about everything and then getting to the wrestling.
Yeah.
No, there's been some amazing conversations that have had nothing to do with anything but like people that Math and Fam knew growing up in Maryland, you know what I mean? But it's when you talk to the chat, that's what the chat wants to hear. Tell us about the panty man or you know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things, but what's that term that they use for people who like the relationship between the podcaster and the listener to the podcast? There's a specific term for that. Something
You
with the
mean to
relationship.
describe that like it's your friends in a way that like, they have
Interaction or
Wendy Williams used to call it my friend in my head, but I can't. There's like a specific there's a specific term that they use, but it's over the years you realize that the people who listen to the parasocial relationships where you know where the people who listen to what you do learn a lot about you because they're listening and you're just naturally talking about that, so they feel like they know you on a certain level. But and I don't, it's I want to say it's different with us because we then go outside and we interact with the people that tune in and it's not, they're not listeners, they're not supporters. I mean, those are it's the homies,
It's the homies at this point.
That's just the people. When we go to the wrestling, we know they're going to be there. So it's cool to do that, and it's fun to maintain that relationship, and then also get into arguments about what happened on Monday or Wednesday or whatever.
Y'all want to? I really, my research has to go back and watch all the old episodes.
Don't do that.
Yes, spent a good 10 minutes talking about penis juice, and then somehow it's transitioned to pink slime.
Oh yeah, the pink. I remember the pink sauce conversation with Lovely. I don't remember the penis juice. Was that liquor?
Who we talk? Oh, was that from when she had the bottle of liquor?
The bottle that had a phallic situation, but I think that must have been vodka or something like that.
It was literally right before. Like it was that you just finished the something else first episode, and she was gonna do an episode with I think Faye Jackson. And
shout out to Faye for having that match yesterday. She went.
Yeah, absolutely.
Darius put her through a door, and it's the wildest thing I've ever seen live.
I have to watch the match. I just seen clips on the timeline.
And then she did a senton from the middle
bar.
rope. Yeah, from the middle rope. From the middle rope.
That's nuts.
Onto a steel chair. It looked like it was a rough landing.
It was a very violent match.
I gotta watch it.
It was really good. It was really good, and I hope she continues to do more wrestling. Honestly,
I mean, when we saw her again, talking about going outside. When we went outside last summer, we saw her return. I still got to put that video up. I got the cell phone footage of Faye Jackson announcing her return, and she was in Karen Bam Bam face. So there's a couple of matches that again. See, and Ty, I want you to notice we wasn't talking about wrestling. And then we just start talking like I don't want to fourth wall it, but like this is what happens. At some point, eventually, you'll get to the wrestling. This is just what happens.
That's a matter of hand. We said we go from talking about other stuff to now talking about wrestling. One of the things I've seen from you guys, and you talked about a little bit, is that you've kind of now started branching out to having different shows under the Black Wrestling podcast. I believe just last year you started the Patreon, if I'm not mistaken. You have White Noise with Drip, which I would like to hear your thoughts on how that came together. And then you have something else with Lovely and Fam, which is something that I think I'm interested in the concept of it, because I think it's a great idea to have a wrestling show that is not about wrestling that much. It's more about just talking about everyday life and getting to know somebody beyond just, okay, what's your favorite move or what you think about this angle. So first I would like to start with Drip. How did the White Noise show come together?
Well, obviously, if anyone can't tell, I am white, so I'm joining the Black Wrestling podcast.
Nah, Khal, I didn't know. I thought he was Puerto Rican. He's gotta go.
Yeah, they
it's
said
February.
That's what I'm saying. He may have to get him. Drip, don't show up this week.
So already like the optics of like me joining the show, but that's what made it work is like the white stack guy of Black Wrestling, and then like Khal said, Diversity Day, and then that transitioned into me being on the show more frequently. But there was one week, specifically it was the week of Wrestle Kingdom, when Jay White versus Kota Ibushi, and Matt's like, I know you're gonna want to talk about this against you like Jay White, so we'll call this segment of the show White Noise. So we'll do all the regular topics, and at the end, Drip, you can talk about Jay White, you can talk about whatever else you want to talk about. And we did it for I think like 2 or 3 weeks, and
we had a couple of White Noise segments.
But then as me being part of the show more frequently, like most topics kind of already were White Noise centric in a way, especially if like Adam Cole shows up or anything Finn Balor related. It was just the obvious. I think that's kind of like my interest, whether it's wrestling, and it's branched into movies, TV. anything else I'm interested in as well. But yeah, it started out as a weekly segment where we're going to cover all the news of the week, and then if there's anything that wasn't on the docket that I wanted to talk about, I would be like, yes, it's my turn to present in front of the class. Like, all right, so let me tell you about this match this week or that. But yeah, we've had some great guests. Like you just mentioned, Keeks was on recently. Khal mentioned Banks earlier. He's like my brother. He's been on. I've had each of the members, Fam, Math, Khal, Mimi have been on, and yeah, it's great to do stuff where I'll talk about, again, the wrestling that I've always been a fan of, or I'm a fan of currently, like Carmelo Hayes, Ricky Starks, or again, being a fan of cruiserweight wrestling growing up, because that was what first got me in, was watching the High Flyers and their unique style. So it's just kind of, it's what my mind looks like in terms of what I'm a fan of, and all sorts of things just being projected, which is like, it's the ramblings of a madman who's like scaring away the women, and let me tell you why.
No, facts. Well, this is the thing, Tyree. This is the thing. It's like white noise. Legit. The way I look at, because I have to sit here and produce the show with this man. White noise is legit. Everything Drip wants to talk about during our record that he can't, because the other 4 people on the record is talking over.
Well, I wouldn't bring it.
So
like,
it's
hey,
white wrestling. It's white wrestling.
It's white wrestling from a Drip perspective.
Wrestling,
it's wrestling. No,
that's white wrestling.
Somebody's already got
way to black people.
Yeah, somebody's already got wrestling trademark too, so you can't do that.
Boring.
This is white wrestling with
Roman ain't white. Them new teeth white, but Roman ain't white. I'm sorry.
But that's basically what it is. It's like the stuff. Hey, would you all want to talk about Will Ospreay? No one wants to talk about until
I like Will Ocean Spray.
Well, that's why. Like, then fam, you can talk about Will Ospreay on this episode with me. Then that's how it happens, more or less. Is I'll invite people who will want to talk about this subject on the show that normally isn't covered on BRP. Which again, we already covered the news of the week and anything else that might happen, and then the tangents after tangents after tangents. So it's hard to get back on track. And I'm saying that in the best way. It's like we talked about hygiene for 40 minutes, and that was probably the best part of the show 2 weeks ago. And it was, again, a real PSA if you weren't paying attention. Like, go back and
get
watch.
Up under them
Arms everywhere, everything.
So good PSA before WrestleMania. WrestleMania.
Facts.
Exactly.
I don't want to. I want to smell that y'all was in the shower.
Hey man, Google the Funky J. Google the Funky J. You know what I mean? Thank you. You know what I mean? Get right.
I'm sorry, Tyrese. I'm sorry.
It's good. It's good. Listen. I've already came into this saying nothing's gonna go as planned.
No, what? Hey.
He watched.
But wait, Tyrese. We about a half hour or so in. I however many questions you got on your list, you're gonna get to every question.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're gonna get to every. You ain't gonna.
That's your favorite part at the end of the depths, like everything on the rundown. We crossed it off.
No,
and like after like 2.5 hours, like I can't believe we did it. Like we landed on the moon. Like
Tyrese, I'm gonna tell you like this. All right, see this is every week. I got a Google Doc. I set up a Google Doc. I go, here's the news. We're gonna talk in WWE. So we're gonna talk in AEW. Some other stuff. If we have a pay-per-view. Everything is organized as it can be.
Is that money in big briefcase right there? I just not like I do move your arm. I just now seen that.
I'm Mr. Money in the Bank. You want to know what's in it though?
Please.
No, hold on. No, this was a promo item from Peacock.
Oh, you got the
Money in the
slides?
Bank, Peacock slides, and some fake ass Benjamins.
So he put those on when he super kicked people like
Big facts. That's how I won the title.
Like the big cat Ernest Miller. You know what I'm saying?
A beer koozie. This shit just sits in here though. I'm sorry. I don't. Anyway, but no. So it's one of those things where I have a list, and at some point we're gonna get to the end of the list, but instead of going chronological or whatever, it may be like an 8. You know what I mean? Like we'll touch on it. We'll attack on the shit however we attack it.
Right.
We just got to get at the end of the show. We just got to get to everything on the list.
Again, it's like he has a Pulp Fiction poster. It's like Pulp Fiction. Like you start here in the diner, then where's the movie end? In the diner, but everything in between.
Nah, the movie ended when they pulled off on that motorcycle.
He's right, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, he is right. If you were someone like, let's make the cut of Pulp Fiction, we're like, Oh, that would be actually interesting to watch, to be honest.
I'd watch
yeah.
it. I'd
Yeah.
definitely watch that.
The
Yeah.
chronological Pulp
Someone
Fiction,
has
yeah.
to have that on YouTube. Someone
Yeah.
has to have it.
Yeah, I need
Yeah.
to now I need to see that.
So then you'd be like, this is a weird movie about Bruce Willis, huh?
This Bruce Willis movie is crazy.
You know what's
You know what I'm
crazy?
saying?
Bruce Willis is like if you let I have the poster right here, you actually can see. He's like the last person on the list of like names.
What?
Because it's like, and Bruce Willis, because he was on a
Yeah.
career downslide. Yeah.
This is not white noise, but talk about a career. Like the Bruce Willis story right now is very sad, but
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
and it's actually reminiscent of what I hate about a lot of pro wrestling stories, where it's kind of, and then things just went downhill and nobody took care of people and all that stuff. But
Right.
that's not the conversation for today. I think because at some point, Brother Fam's got to talk about something else, right?
Yeah.
And the formation of no BS, quite possibly one of the most frequently watched things that's happened on under the BRP umbrella since we've been on YouTube specifically, is something else. I don't know if it's the rapport between Lovely and Fam. I don't know if it's the stellar roster of guests that they're able to pull, or if it's just a conversation that has nothing to do with anything that we're here for. But I again, as being the person that has to hit the upload on the YouTube, I can't tell them enough how much I'm impressed every week when a new episode comes in. But that's not for me to talk about.
I mean, for me, listen, it all started in the good old world of Twitter Spaces, right? The messy, wonderful, ignorant, insane, out of control, the most PC place on earth. And it was just there were some folks in there that from the community, and they were talking about it was like, oh, we got some podcasters in the room, man. There were also some wrestlers, and Lovely, who's worked with a great deal of wrestlers. You know what I mean? A lot of stuff y'all don't know, and some stuff y'all know. But she was giving folks advice like, yo, we've seen that interview with the with what their favorite match is, and who the best was growing up, and who trained them. But what kind of women do they like? Do they like slim chicks? They like thick ones? They like the slim thick Jones that might be on some of y'all searches. Anyway, they ask what type of folks are they into? All kinds of questions about these folks, because the key is the wrestlers, they're willing to give folks their time, right? But most of these folks ain't getting paid for these podcast appearances. So there's some sort of give and take that needs to occur. And with us, with what it is that we do, there's a opportunity for folks that like pro wrestling to find out more about that person that they see on TV or at their local shows on the internet, so on and so forth. But now it's like, all right, let me get an extra reason to invest. Like, oh, they like the same XYZ as I do. Or, you know what I'm saying? This guy, he's into this. And, oh, he has music. He's a rapper. There's so much you can find out, and so many touch points and places to invest, that we kind of, it became an opportunity. So when Lovely was giving that advice about talk to these folks about more than wrestling, I was like, yo, let's do that. Let's get a bunch of folks, get a bunch of wrestlers and get a bunch of folks. And you know what I'm saying? I'm like, should probably call that something else. So I had Lovely. I was like, yo, let's do a show. She was like, yeah, let me get back to you. Yeah, let's I'm like, all right. I don't know if you know this about me, champ. I am persistent, pleasantly persistent. I won't be a jerk. But if I ask it today, I'm gonna ask it tomorrow. It may sound a bit different until we come to the answer or the agreement that we both require. And that's really what happened, man.
You can do the show, or you can do the show. That's
right. You know what I'm saying? Wyclef. Shout out to Wyclef.
Mr. Wyclef.
Messed up how you did cannabis though.
Facts.
But no, it just really took off, man. People are there at 11:11 on Wednesdays for the release, and it's a great time to really look back at, because we live it when we record it, but then it's really great to watch it with some other folks and see how they react to it, man. So shout out to everybody that's in the chat. You know what I'm saying? 11:11 on Wednesdays, man, having fun with us.
No, definitely. And I think one of the things that surprised me was Lovely, like, because I think, and just putting over Lovely real quick, I think she's super, super talented. I think that there are certain people that you just feel are just made to just be able to talk in front of people.
Mhm.
And I think, Keeks is that. I think obviously you guys are that as well. And Lovely is just one of those special people that it just seems like she has all the charisma. She's smart, she's beautiful, and she just and she just knows how to say things in a way where everybody can understand. And sometimes it's not something you're gonna like, but it's something that needs to be said. And I think she's one of the special talents in this content creator game.
Here's the secret. She's genuine, right? And that's what you. So when she's smart. Those two things, when you put, like, knowledge don't mean nothing if you can't put it to, what I mean, get the enzymes up there and get it to soap sudding and all that. When she puts those three things together, she gives you her opinion, but she gives it to you educated, you know what I mean? Because she knows the stuff and then she knows how to put it to work. And it's really cool to sit just and watch her, you know what I mean, bounce her personalities off of other people. And sometimes purposefully. I'll just get out of there and I'll let things happen and let things cook. Because sometimes you gotta let the pot simmer, baby. You don't need to watch the food the whole time.
I'm trying to push. I'll tell you this. I'm trying to push her every time I talk to her. When you start that thing we was talking about, when was that? Because she's somebody who, like, I don't know, like, you see somebody like for all the reasons you mentioned, they look like somebody. It looked like somebody that could be doing something, and at the very least, because I don't know what anybody's going to be able to do, but I'm damn sure going to be like, hey, Drip, you could put on a podcast. If you need me to sit there and press record and help you get this shit out there, we're going to figure this out, because the last thing I want to be is a person sitting there like, damn, he was sitting next to Khal and Khal didn't even do shit. Like, that's a lot. Like, this knowledge is free. Like, all I did was start doing this shit. Once people realize how easy it is, that's why there's so many podcasts out now, because everybody realized what StreamYard was. They realized how easy it was to get mics and whatnot and use SoundCloud or whatever. Like, it's not hard, but if you've got the creativity and got the talent, sometimes people need to get pushed. I'm not going to push you off the ledge, but I'm damn sure going to push you into traffic and hope you know how to get back or know how to get to the other side, because I know you do. It's like with a kid, but some of us are, people who have been able to help raise the offspring and make them understand how to make the rights and wrongs in the world. And it's dope when it works. And I want to make sure that anybody I see that's got the talent can do it. But
no, you have to have the drive too and the passion for it. Before joining, I was, again, like, fam, like, I just love podcasting. Like, I love listening to it. And I was like trying to go to school to be in like mass communications and eventually try to get in that lane. So like, I just kind of skipped all that, but I think like I was always interested in this and to like be a part of it. Now it's that thing too. And there are days where you won't want to, something personal is getting to you and just like, oh, I don't have it today, but like, like, you have to keep going. And whether you're going to be creative or not, it's still kind of that thing of like, gotta keep going, because there are thousands of listeners, people that like look forward to this is the best part of their day. And it's also the best part of my day. My day is recording with them as well. And again, it's something I'm looking forward to. Again, like, I watched all this wrestling to talk about it, and whatever I'm going to say, it's what I truly feel. And that's, again, going back to Lovely, Keeks, whoever, whether you're a fan of this person or that person, if you just like what they say, because again, they're knowledgeable, or you like their genuine honesty about a topic. You might not always agree, but at least they're standing for something and agreeing with it, not just going with what the crowd thinks. And that was what we were trying to say a few weeks ago, like, that everyone's going to think Cody Rhodes is going to get booed mindset, because they're kind of pushing it out there, hoping they could be called right that he got booed right after. Like, if you genuinely like believe that, then say it. But if you're just saying that to be in the hive mind, then that's why whatever I'll say, crazy as it might be, I'm saying it because it's what I believe. I don't just say stuff to say it. And that's whether on BRP, white noise, whatever, something else in the future, whatever it can be. It's just I'm going to be who I am and say what I feel like saying.
And I'll say this to you, Drip. I think you're also someone, like I said, is someone that's just natural for this. I look at you and I watch you on the show, and how you carry yourself, even in your own show, White Noise. I think you are one of the most charismatic people in this game, I believe, in content creating and especially in this wrestling space. I think also I would love to see you and your dad more doing interaction as well.
Shouts to Big
I was about
Mike.
to say,
Big Mike. But
that was like he and I would have
Big Mike
conversations.
White too.
Big Mike is white. It's crazy.
Nah.
He said he was Black Irish, but I don't think that means what I thought it meant.
So that would be the thing. Like he and I would like have conversations throughout my life in the kitchen, car rides, all that. Like we again have our own routine as it is, and people can see that when we're sitting side by side having these conversations. And they're like, I know what you're gonna say, I know what you're gonna say, and like the difference of opinion. He disagrees with what I'm into, I disagree with what he's into. But yeah, everyone loves my dad, which is I knew they would as soon as I put him on that. So it's like at the right time, like one day I'll put him on and people will be like, this guy's the coolest guy in the world. But the charismatic. I think a lot of it's just for show. Sometimes I like to, again, I couldn't be an actor, but just like, to have fun. Again, this sometimes is supposed to be entertaining, as Fam says, but like, it's not disingenuous either. It's like, I'm not going to be like that 24/7. Like if you meet me in real life, like if I was at Black Wrestle Fest, you'd realize like, oh, Drip is actually way more quiet in person or something like that. Cause that's normally how it is. It's just like, I'm not loud in person, like how I would be on the show sometimes or all that.
Give us some time. Give us some time.
Yeah,
we only just met you.
In real life, you don't really.
But that's kind of what it is, right?
That's the medium to express that. Yes, I'm not the most talkative person. Is that like this is my outlet and like that. Like I wanted to be a writer at first, but I realized it was easier to say the things than write them down. And
that's true.
And that's the way it worked out. I was like, oh, I can, and that's the thing. I'd rather talk on a podcast when the red light's on than on a timeline and just tweet all day and say I have an outlet to express my creativity, whether it be Black Rasslin, Proper, White Noise, Reaction Club, whatever. I'm like, I can do my talking there instead of just on the timeline.
Well, yeah, I definitely think just the fact that you're able to you can be quiet and not in this podcast when the red light is on, but you're able to be charismatic. I think that just goes to show how naturally gifted you are at this game. And I give you flowers right here in front of you. I think what you are able to do on different platforms also, I've seen you on, you are just naturally built for this. And I can't wait to continue seeing what you're doing. And I think you become a great addition to this Black Wrestling podcast crew.
No, that's the thing I love the most was that for some reason that first episode, like I said, it's like we were just passing the ball back and forth, the four of us at the time with Khal, Math, and Fam, and I'm just like it was just crazy. Again, like two are from Baltimore, one's from Jersey, and again I'm from California originally, but live in Minnesota. So it's just like
I'm from Severn.
I'm just saying 1854. Yeah, we're not gonna go to the whole bit right now, but yeah, it was just it somehow worked. Again, me being I was 25 at the time, I'll be 28 this Friday, but yeah, just the age, the age difference. And then when we had Mimi, that's what made it so well too. Like I think it was a week after that we had the idea, like, should we add Mimi to join the show? And I'm like, yeah, because I thought that episode went brilliant. Like the conversation kept going and all that. It's just, and I love opportunities like this to go on other people's platforms and talk with them. And I never take that for granted if someone wants to ask me to be a part of the show. That's one of the best things, is that once you have your own stuff out there, someone's like, hey, I'd like to talk to you, and would you be interested? I'm like, yeah, of course. Like I loved the episode we did with Steph Hardy last week, and I thought that was a great conversation as well. And she's great, and I thought the five of us had a great and amazing and important conversation. And that's what I hope it leads to, is that something that's fun and important that you can kind of just take a lot from and also get enjoyment out of.
And I will also say this as well. You have White Noise with Drip, you have something else. And I feel like an extension of that also is, even on your own show, Black Rasslin, you'll also have other people from different, whether it be Steph Hardy, whether it be the A show you had, whether it be you had Dr. D on your show as well. Like you're always able to integrate other people that are not part of the brand, but make them a part of the brand. And I think that's something we talked about before, that I think, I don't know if you guys get as much applause for it, but you being able to, especially in this competitive business too, like with this podcast trying to grow and trying to be the next big network, the next big place for content. And I feel like in this time it could be competitive, and it is competitive. I've seen other podcasts take digs at each other, which is crazy. But I've also seen you guys show love to others in a time where you don't really need to, but you do it because you create this unity, and you, like I said, you are the pillar of this the podcast community. What made you guys reach out to others and bring them in?
For me, it was kind of just that, like the rising tide lifts all ships, right? So it was just like the first folks we really reached out to, I believe, were like Stack Guy Greg and Black Announce. They were just like, oh, hold on. Because for us, we weren't out here listening to Black podcasts. We was just out here, me specifically. I know for me, I was just listening to some podcasts. So I would listen to like your Cheap Heat. And then I found out about Black Announce Table through Cheap Heat. And it was like, okay, I see there's a couple of little guys out here. Let me reach out. Let's see if they cool. I don't, cause you know how it is. You're sitting out and you guys all do the same thing. And the idea maybe is like, it's like a game of dodgeball, right? Where they put the ball in the middle and everybody before the game is all sitting there looking at each other before they put the ball down, and you got to run and get it. And you got to run for the ball. But then you realize that's not what we're playing, right? There are enough balls for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Some of us get two. And the fact of the matter is the better that you pop, the better that you're able to create these relationships. It's like if everybody's got a ball, then the norm is having a ball. You know what I'm saying? And everyone having a different voice, man. What you hear from one show isn't the same you get from us. And the fact that if we can continue to validate ourselves within our community, and then outwardly be the destination for some of this information, and not because we're the Black site, but we're the site that knows, the site that gets it right, the place that can give you the proper information, then you can hear what you need to hear, and you don't have to hear it in another person's voice. You don't need it translated. It can be given to you directly how you want to have it given to you. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's really, really important, just because we all don't want to wake up and be like, all right, this is the BBC News and here's the news. Like, we don't need to hear that every week. Sometimes you're like, all right, fam, this was right happened. And that's kind of the difference, is there doesn't need to be any kind of translation. You get the news or the information from where you want to get it, man. We just have to validate our own sources and strengthen the community between us all.
100%. And I think that coming from the writing, the blogging aspect, when I was just starting out as a person that was writing all the time online, I remember, shouts to Rafi Khan and the cats at O Word. I remember when cats would be like, yo, okay, we're doing like a themed week and we want some other voices. Can you come in and write something on this? I had to write about the Clips and cocaine rap. This is a while ago. This was like 17, 18 years ago. But those were things that, and this is it's so marketing based, but the only way some people are heard is when other people prop up their voices. Because when you're on my podcast, a link go with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are going to know where to find you. That was the whole point of it. But I was the one writing and you trying to get on other people's blog rolls. You remember a blog roll, the list of web blogs that they rocked with on the side? You wanted to get on that because at some point somebody would click that. And I was on nowrite.com and I saw you here and this link was here and I've been rocking with you ever since. Like, I know what that meant for me when I was trying to start. And I know that there's people like Drip, like Lola, like Mimi, who have voices. And if nobody else is going to let, especially Black voices, especially Black women's voices, like if nobody's going to shine a light on these people, at the very least, we want to give them a place where they can say what they want to say, with the hopes that people can find them if they like that type of insight. I think this isn't it's a marathon, not a sprint, specifically when it comes to, like Fam was saying, taking pro wrestling media coming from our voices seriously, taking what we're saying just as fact as a Fightful or a Wrestling Observer or wherever people are getting their news, because it's not too, there aren't too many places that understand our perspective on things, let alone what we like about pro wrestling. So we need to build that, so the kids in the wrestling club, the kids that are the little brothers and sisters of the kids in the wrestling club who are becoming wrestling fans, when they get to the stage that we were at 5-6 years ago, they have ideas of what they can do or where they can go, where they can invest their time to get more out of what the hobbies and the things that they love. I realistically put more faces like ours up in these spaces. We can have these conversations, but you it has to start somewhere. You need, we're not Bianca Belair, but you need a Bianca Belair. You need a Bobby Lashley in the podcasting game. Just somebody who's doing the damn thing, is dominant, and can show you that it doesn't have to be one way, because it isn't one way.
That's the best part about being part of the show, is that once I joined, I got to find out the Brian H. Waters of the world, those wrestling girls who I had never heard of before, just because, again, I'd only listened to a select few podcasts, and then my world kind of got bigger. And then once you get to talk to these people again, you get to hear their insight and their knowledge, and you check out their shows and all that. And it's great to see, again, like this whole world now that exists. And like I was saying, like the unfortunate part is that people that look like me, their voice has been the majority for years and years and years now. And that's the thing now about trying to put others on. I think that's why we are always looking forward to do that. Again, fans that are like, if you raise others up, yours is going to be raised up with them too, because then they'll be able to not just sing your praises, but share yours as well. And it's not that whole mindset, but if one wins, we all win, because sometimes that can get twisted and flipped and all that. But and the other aspect too, not to take digs at people, but you can tell when someone tries to copy our look or our aesthetics or like that. But it's that thing where, like, once you turn it on and it doesn't sound the same, again, that's not Black wrestling. Only Black wrestling can be Black wrestling. That's what makes the real. And that's how, no, Matt always says, like, that's what makes the real, right? Like, and that's how I think we've been able to stay for so long. It was just the three of them for 4 years, and then me the last two, and then Mimi the last year, and then how it goes further and further, again, with adding something else, white noise, what Mimi has in the works. I mean, all of it. And that's something we don't try to be like anyone else. We just try to be us. And that's the most important part at the end of the day.
Facts.
I also really quick shout out to my other co-pilot, Tony Brown.
That's the worst part of this show. Is that people found out who Tony Brown was.
Yeah, Tony Brown telling the truth about Drip for a long time. I just don't like it.
I told y'all about him. You didn't believe me.
Tony popped up with that Sherlin, and Drip was like, I got a Sherlin. Couldn't take it.
That's as close as we'll get to Jay Lethal Ric Flair. You're doing me. No, I'm doing you. Like,
the funny thing about the Sherlin is, because on the something took me back to that. Downtown lost his Sherlin. I don't think we ever found out what happened. Did he get a new one?
Yeah, he got a new one.
Yeah, the one he has is
he just bought a new one.
He was accusing me of somehow being involved with his Sherlin going missing, because I had jealous eyes when it came to his Sherlin, but I'm like, I got my own Sherlin. Why would I need yours? Why would I need yours?
That's the downtown Tony Brown. It's downtown, baby, on your social media.
What did he say? It was alpaca or whatever it was.
The funny part, the really cool part about Tony Brown is if he all through like the bits, if you sit and listen, this guy knows pro wrestling. Oh, yes, old wrestling, new he's like a fountain of information. I'm serious, man. You sit and listen to this guy. He knows his stuff cold, and that's really, I mean,
he just never.
I love the comedy of it. I love the comedy of it, but when we're sitting there having these conversations, he's almost encyclopedic the way he's like, oh, that was the XYZ. So now he's doing the bit, but he's also doing like
But that's the genius
insane.
about like good parody is understanding the material. And I think, and
Like your
again,
Drew
I
McIntoshes and your
I-
Bobby
I fe-
Ashleys.
I
and
feel
your-
bad because I feel like I'm taking the gimmick and I'm like stabbing it in the side with a knife or something like that. But like you have to understand, like it's funny because we
It's
all
good.
know with this and we all understand this. So
Right.
that it's almost like too good of a representation of the comedy of what goes on in pro wrestling, especially from that time frame. But Downtown Tony Brown is low key one of my favorite wrestlers. I don't care what nobody said. 'Cause
Well, that,
I'm not getting on Downtown Tony Brown's bad side. That's my homie. for
Oh, you
life.
don't want to do that. You don't want to do
Oh,
that.
like-
but no, that's what makes great satire so great. Like Black Dynamite, basketball, like when it picks it apart so perfectly in an homage, but it's like, isn't it how like this stuff is kind of dumb, right? But we all loved it. Like that's what makes like good satires or parodies work so well. So like it's done with love and respect, but also like let's have some fun with this. Like it's it's still not as serious.